that way, so the traffic may be a little more hectic when you came in, but that's why we're here at the university. So thank you very, very much for coming to our campus. Thank you for supporting our students and our great university and our community. Thank you very much, and go Beach.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to Canada, and welcome to and I know that
pull something. Because it's fucking very DeLong.
Not applaud or make any noise in the morning, especially has a courtesy to all the The League of Women Voters, you know, started when women got the vote. And in order for women to be intelligent enough to vote, we started the League of Women Voters, and of course I wasn't big at them. But we do this because we feel we're a nonpartisan organization, and that is something you need to understand at the outset. We are political, and we do try to bring as much information to the public as we can. We try to be fair. Like tonight, we will both give both of these candidates the opportunities to give their opinions on the questions that will be asked. Each will have booing me before I even get started. The candidates will each have 3-minute opening, and they will be speaking in the order in which they do lots. So Mr. DeLong will be speaking his 3 minutes, and then Mr. Long's long. Each of the candidates will be given 2 minutes to answer each question. They each want to answer the same question. So there'll be 2 minutes. There'll be no rebuttal. And at the outset, at the end of the session, we will have 2 minutes closing.
Shit, they didn't even think it's closing.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Not here.
I will keep the order in which they speak, and I will put down how many questions they each answer, so they each have an equal time and an equal number of questions. The microphone is disconcerting. There will be time for, as you see in front of the podium, there are 2 people here. Will you hold up the cards, please? They will, candidates will be told when they have a minute to speak left, and then 30 seconds. And when they have to stop, there'll be a red placard. And I will stop them when that red card comes up. I've told them I'm very strict with the time. So, in the middle of the sentence or not, I will say thank you and move on.
And then just like this, whenever it's out.
Our first candidate is Mr. DeLong, and he will have his 3-minute opening now.
Thank you very much, Bea. I appreciate that. Hope this mic will work a little bit better. I'm Gary DeLong. I'd like to thank you all for coming out on a Friday evening here. Democracy is important. I'd like to thank the Anator and the League of Women Voters and the other organizations for putting this opportunity together for Alan and I to have a discussion tonight and for all of you to participate. I'm very concerned about the direction of our country. My wife Donna and I, we have 3 daughters. They range from college down to 1st grade. And I think about my older girls. One of them is going to graduate college in a year or so. And I think about what does her economic future look like. I can tell you it's not as promising as the one that I had when I graduated from college. I had a job the day I graduated. I did pretty well the first 10 years in corporate America, and the last 25 years as a owner of a local small business. And I'm a hard worker, so I did work hard, but I would tell you, what I really had is I had opportunity. I had the opportunity to do well. And our kids and grandkids that are graduating from college today do not have the same opportunity we have. And I think that's wrong. And I think about our youngest in first grade over at Lowell, and I think about what kind of an education is she going to receive. And as you know, here in Long Beach, we're extraordinarily proud of the public education system that we have. But with the devastating budget cuts year after year after year, at some point, it's going to reach the tipping point, and we're not going to have that same quality of education. And if we don't have that same quality of education, what's going to happen to the fabric of our community? It won't be positive. And you look at a national level. Our national debt is overwhelming. It's just past $16 trillion. And yeah, that's a lot of money, it's a lot of zeros, but what does it mean to us? Well, for each one of us, it means $50,000. That's our share of the debt. Each one of us owes $50,000. We didn't rack up any of that debt, but we owe it. And in fact, even if we turn things around, and I believe that we will, we won't be able to get that to where it needs to be. We're going to pass that cost off to the next generation. And I tell you, I think that is morally and ethically wrong. None of us live our lives that way. We're people that invest in our community, want to make things better, that want to have a better future for our kids than the one that we inherited. That's what we're all about. And we are not doing that today in Washington. I'm sure we're going to have a conversation here about why that is and what we can do to fix it. But I thank you again for being here, and I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Northall.
Thank you, Bea. And I too want to thank the League for hosting this candidate debate. I also want to say how fortunate and how glad I am to be back here on the campus. I spent 28 years as a faculty member here at Cal State Long Beach, just teaching up in the psychology building. My family grew up in Long Beach. My children went to Long Beach schools. My wife now is a physician working for Kaiser in the district, both here in Long Beach and also in Garden Grove. And I have had the really good luck of being elected to be both a city council member, a state assembly member, and also a state senator. And throughout my career, I have really, as a community psychologist, tried to give back to my community. I tried to protect the residents of my community. I tried to listen to the residents of my community. I worked really hard. When I first started to run for council, they told me that you couldn't clean up the port and have economic development. Well, I fought to have economic, sustainable development and also a clean port. I was the first one to do that fight. I have fought for education. I have fought for good government. I've introduced the campaign finance reform here in Long Beach. I've done the independent redistricting commission that allows me to vote. And now I have the good fortune of running for Congress. My vision, what I want to do in Congress is to bring that sense of integrity, that sense of caring for community to Washington. I'm going to fight for jobs, as I have done before. I'm going to fight for education. I've been the chair of education. I have created lots of legislation to link the institutions together, to make sure things work better. I'm going to fight for air quality. You know, they told me when I first started, we had the worst air quality in the state, and that you couldn't clean it up. And as I said, I never stopped trying. We still have a lot more to do, and I'm going to fight for that. I'm also going to fight for good government. I'm going to fight for open government, for transparent government. But I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to end Medicare. I'm not going to end Social Security. I'm going to maintain our commitment to those valuable programs where people have worked their lives and are entitled to those kinds of either health care. I support the Affordable Care Act. And so I am just so pleased to know what I will do and what I won't do when I go to Congress. And thank you for having this. And I hope that after this you will see that I am the strongest candidate and will support me for Congress. Thank you.
Some of you have come in and would have a question that you would like to ask. Raise your hand and somebody will come and We'll start the questioning with Mr. DeLong. What is the most important problem facing our country today, and how would you fix it? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. 2 minutes to talk about it or 2 minutes to fix it? All right. Okay, I better get started. Thank you. Well, clearly the most important problem facing our country today is the economy and jobs. There's no doubt about that. We're in a tailspin. We're on an anemic recovery. And that's happening for a number of reasons. We need to get the private sector going again. We need to do a few things. First of all, we need to stop deficit spending. We got to stop spending over $1 trillion a year that we don't have. And we need to do it in several ways. First of all, we need to cut the cost of the federal government. The cost of the federal government has doubled in the last 10 years. 100%. Could you imagine that in your personal lives or your business lives if you doubled your expenses and didn't have any meaningful revenue growth? And I mentioned 10 years, but that's 6 years under a Republican administration and 4 years under a Democrat administration. So the first thing you should take away from that, it is not the other party's fault. They did it collectively. Now, even though we need to cut, we're not going to be able to cut all the way there. We need to grow revenues. Now, candidly, to me, growing revenues does not equate into raising taxes. Growing revenues is exactly that. It's motivating the private sector, providing a hospitable business climate so our economy can grow and prosper. Everyone will benefit. The unemployed will have an opportunity to get a job. Unemployed or underemployed can have a better job. If you're stuck mid-career, there'll be places to go because your company is growing and expanding. And by the way, the government's going to do better well, because as those businesses prosper more, they're going to generate more tax revenue, and that tax revenue is going to go to local, state, and federal levels. That is the way that we need to do to get the way that we need to go to get out of this mess that we're in. Thank you.
Thank you.
I too agree with my opponent that jobs and reducing the deficit are the 2 most important things that confront the nation today. I was really pleased to see that today the unemployment rate in the nation is below 8%. It's at 7.8%. We are moving in the right direction. It is not time to turn around. When President Obama began 4 years ago, we were averaging at 750,000 jobs a month were going down. We lost almost 4 million jobs in the first 4 to 5 months. That was horrible. We were in free fall. He saved us by protecting, by making sure that the automobile industry did not go out, that we worked with the banks to bring back and have reasonable controls again and stop that reckless speculation that took place in the housing industry. So that's what we need to do. So we must continue the actions. We continue it by supporting the President's deficit reduction plan, which says it's got to be balanced. That's what it has to be. We have to do trillions of dollars of cuts, but we also cannot allow the richest Americans not to pay their fair share. The Bush tax cuts for the wealthiest must end, and we must end those tax cuts, and that will be that, along with reasonable and fair deficit reduction, will get us out, and maintaining with the President's the American Jobs Act to get that through the Congress, to reinvest in schools, to reinvest in Cal State Long Beach and in education, to make sure that we have enough police officers on the street. We're moving in the right direction. It's been a tough 4 years. We inherited a terrible time. Let's move forward.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we know the applause until the end. It's a little distracting and it takes time. Please hold your applause. The next question, I will start with Mr. Lowenthal. The public perception is that lobbyists with very deep pockets exert tremendous influence over all congressional decisions. Do you agree, and would you like to see changes made?
Yes, I think that outside money has become a horrible, horrible pollutant to our political sense. What we have, and especially more recently, not just lobbyists, but with the Citizens United decision, which said that corporations are the same as individuals and can spend as much money as they want on any campaign without having to adhere to the limits that are set on all campaigns. We have limits. I can live within those limits. We have limits in terms of the amount of contributions that we can receive, but corporations or those that have independent expenditures, which are being, right now, there's a $300,000 independent expenditure, far exceeding any limit that is being broadcast today against me in this district. So it is real clear that there is not a level playing field. We need to control that. America will lose its identity if all of it, and its sense of democracy, if we're at risk to being sold to the highest bidders. I have never participated in that. I will not participate in that. And I hope that that's one of the things that we can do. And we can do it by electing President Obama and electing Alan Lowenthal and changing by one vote the Supreme Court. Thank you.
Hold your applause. Mr. DeLong, the same question.
Thank you. Okay, well, let's I'm going to find something that Alan and I agree upon. I do agree that there is too much special interest money in politics at various levels of government, but particularly at the federal and the state levels. One of the things I'd like to see, if I were king, is I'd like to have a rule that you could only donate to a campaign if you could vote for that person. So you can't contribute to a congressional campaign in Texas or Northern California or somewhere else, but if you could vote for the person, then you could support them. You could support your vote, your yard sign, your checkbook, whatever it may be. And I think that would be a great way to get the special interest money out of politics. Now, I'll also tell you that I have some time left over, some things that we disagree on. You mentioned about refunding Cal State Long Beach and getting more police officers on the street. Let me tell you why those things, we don't have them today. The Cal State's university system budget's been decimated. Over 30% has been taken away out of their budget by the state of California. 30% in the last 2 years. It's more expensive for your kids in grade schools, kids to get into Cal State Long Beach. It's more difficult because they're going to take fewer kids in. And they're not going to be able to graduate in 4 years because they can't get their classes. And that is because Alan and his colleagues at the state legislature voted to draconianly cut those budgets. I think that's wrong. I think that's a wrong priority. I would not have made that vote. I firmly disagree. What we should be doing is investing in education. It's an investment in our future. We should not be slashing the education budget. So that's something he and I disagree on. Police officers, why don't we have more cops on the street? Because of his vote to do outrageous pension increases back in 2000. They increased pensions for many employees up to 50%, and then the cities and counties followed the state government. That's why cities and counties don't have the money today to fully fund their public safety. It's because of the outrageous pensions. You know it. You know we've been fighting in Long Beach. That's the #1 cause of our budget problems. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. DeLong is going to ask you the next question. What is your record on supporting ideas or legislation that you believe in, but which your party was opposed? How would you handle going against your party's position, and what issues might be involved or have been involved?
Well, that's going to be an easier question for Alan. He disagrees with everything in my party. But there's a number of things that I disagree with the Republican Party on. I'm pro-choice. They're pro-life. I support gay marriage. They don't. I come from a coastal city. I'm very environmentally oriented. Candidly, the Republican Party is not. So there are many, many things that I disagree with the Republican Party on. And sometimes that follow-up question is, well, Gary, how are you going to survive out there if you don't follow the leadership in your party? Well, first of all, I'm ready to represent everybody. Republicans, Democrats, Independents, decline to the state. I mean, it's amazing how much support I'm receiving. I have Democrat elected officials that have endorsed my campaign or supported me. Not because they think I have a Republican ideology that I follow. Same thing with the decline of states and the independents. That's why they've come on board my campaign. Now, but I will tell you, I am very fiscally conservative. You can ask my wife. I'm very frugal now. And you've certainly seen that's my track record on the Long Beach City Council. We balance the budgets every year. We make difficult decisions. But we invest in our future. We do a lot of capital investment. We're trying to build our reserves. We are very financially conservative. That's my Republicanism. But I'll tell you, the day after the election, I received a call from a congressman. My assistant said, Congressman Bigney's on the phone. I said,